Tonight on 24, Trump says Iran's next leader should be chosen with his input. The US president says the selection of Mojtaba Khamenei is unacceptable, and the Islamic Republic is just wasting its time with this.
Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, it's just hitting the defenses there again!
Sixth day of US and Israeli attacks on the Islamic Republic, military and security bases across Iran under a wave of intense attacks. Any name introduced, be it Mojtaba or Hassan, lacks legitimacy and is complicit in the regime's record, and Prince Reza Pahlavi's emphasis on the illegitimacy of the regime's options for leadership. He says the only alternative to the Islamic Republic is a new system.
Broadcasting live from the Iran International Studio, this is 24 with your host Fardad Farahzad.
Viewers of Iran International in Iran and around the world, hello and good evening. US President Donald Trump told Politico that military operations against the Islamic Republic remain central to his foreign policy, adding that the United States intends to play a significant role in shaping the political future after the Islamic Republic. An hour ago, Trump told Axios that he must personally be involved in choosing Iran's next leader, just as he was involved in choosing Venezuela's. Trump said that in the Islamic Republic, the most likely successor is Mojtaba Khamenei, but this decision is not acceptable to the United States. Trump also said he doesn't want Iran's new leader to be someone who continues Khamenei's policies, and he warned that continuing these programs would drag America back into war in 5 years. Meanwhile, Israel's prime minister also said an hour ago at a base in his country that Israel continues to strike targets of the terrorist regime in Iran, as well as in Lebanon. Netanyahu cites significant achievements but notes much work remains to be done. Our correspondents Reza Pahlavi from Jerusalem and Samira Gorai from CENTCOM headquarters in Tampa, Florida are with us. Samira, I'll start with you. Mr. Trump is now clearly saying that he not only doesn't accept the selection of Mojtaba Khamenei, but he also wants to play a role in choosing Iran's next leader.
He says that the most likely option to become leader is Mojtaba Khamenei, but he says he's a lightweight. He doesn't agree with his succession or his selection, and he personally needs to get involved in this choice. He wants to be personally involved in choosing the future leader inside Iran, just like what he did in Venezuela. That's the example he gives himself. And he says that if someone comes who wants to continue the same previous policies, continue Ali Khamenei's policies, wants to continue the general policies of the Islamic Republic, then after 5 years, the United States will again be forced to go to war with that government and that regime. Someone needs to come into power. He said all this in a phone conversation with Axios. Someone needs to come into power who can establish harmony and peace in the Middle East, meaning with those policies that they've currently adopted in the Middle East. Mr. Trump's Peace Committee was formed a few months ago, and this is the first war that committee is experiencing. With what Mr. Trump is doing, with the formation of the Peace Committee, with those decisions they made regarding Gaza, regarding Lebanon, Mr. Trump is heavily influencing the decisions being made in Lebanon, or now being made in Syria. With the representatives he has chosen for Lebanon and Syria, he is outlining a big picture. He is envisioning and making a big decision for the entire Middle East, and he wants Iran to move in that direction in the future. And Mojtaba Khamenei, according to him, won't help. Mr. Trump also made other remarks today. He had another conversation with Reuters regarding the discussion about the Kurds. Mr. Trump says he supports any action the Kurds want to take inside Iranian territory. We know that yesterday conflicting reports were published about this. Some came and gave news quoting American sources, and worse, the Kurds themselves fundamentally denied it. And let's not forget, at least since the beginning of Mr. Trump's first term as president, the discussion about the Kurds, the tactical way he's used the Kurds, has been a point of criticism for his foreign policy. Many believe the Kurds were a tactical tool for Mr. Trump rather than a strategic ally. Also, in 2017, Mr. Trump didn't support the formation of the Kurdistan Regional Government and sided with the central Iraqi government. But let me get back to what I'm doing here in Tampa. We expect that in about 2 hours, Farhad, a press conference will be held. Secretary of War, Mr. Haxis, will be here, and Brad Cooper. Unlike the previous two conferences, where General Keane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, came, his subordinate, Mr. Cooper, who specifically oversees CENTCOM, the Middle East region, and whose headquarters are also here in Tampa, Florida. They are scheduled to come and give a press conference. We expect them to mention points about air superiority in Iran over Iran's skies, and to mention the latest developments regarding their operations, and whether they will also talk about those weapons that were used for the first time in this war or not. This is something we'll have to see.
And Reza, regarding the situation in Israel, there appear to be clear signs that the volume of missile attacks by the Islamic Republic has once again diminished. Concurrently, Prime Minister Netanyahu addressed soldiers at a military base, explicitly vowing that these critical operations will indeed continue.
That is absolutely correct, Farhad. We had actually experienced a brief period of relative calm here in Israel for the last hour or two, but the situation escalated again just seconds after your program went on air. The Israeli army has just confirmed reports that missiles launched by the Islamic Republic are currently inbound, heading specifically towards the northern regions and the city of Haifa. Authorities have warned that the air raid alarms are expected to sound in those areas within minutes. However, it is important to note, just as you mentioned, that the overall intensity of these attacks has diminished. Although the sirens may be wailing just as frequently as they did yesterday, the actual quantity of missiles crossing into our airspace is significantly lower today. The total number of missiles the Islamic Republic has launched toward Israel remains remarkably low, even accounting for the events that occurred today and just moments ago. The aggregate count sits at roughly 7 or 8 and will certainly not exceed 10 projectiles. Furthermore, their impact has been negligible. The vast majority were successfully intercepted and destroyed well outside Israeli territory. Of the few that managed to reach the border, Israel's Iron Dome defense system effectively shot them down. In a significant update provided just minutes ago, an Israeli army spokesperson informed reporters about the scale of their response, stating that they have already struck approximately 700 distinct targets within the Islamic Republic. Our forces successfully targeted 300 specific ballistic missile launchers from a total inventory of 450 launch platforms. Furthermore, he stated that the Israeli Air Force has accumulated over 7,000 hours of operational flights directly over Iran's skies. As you previously mentioned, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu made a public appearance an hour ago at a strategic airbase in southern Israel. During the visit, he met and conversed with the American and Israeli pilots stationed there, emphatically telling them that this level of joint cooperation between the United States Air Force and the Israeli Air Force is a truly historic achievement.
The cooperation between Israel and the U.S. in the campaign against the Islamic Republic is historic. We continue to target the terrorist regime's objectives in Iran and Lebanon. The achievements are significant, but the work is still ongoing. I want to once again thank our friend, President Trump, for this cooperation.
I really must also add a critical update regarding Danny Danon, Israel's official representative to the United Nations. Speaking just moments ago at the UN, he declared that if Israel and the United States are granted a few days, the situation will change. Danon asserted that the Islamic Republic will soon lose its current leverage and no longer possess the power for such a show of force in the Strait of Hormuz. He noted that while a lot of work remains, the timeline is short. He emphasized this is not a matter of months. Rather, within just a few days or weeks ahead, the work will be finished, Fardad.
Thank you. Thank you to both of you. Samira Garai from CENTCOM headquarters in Tampa, Florida, and Reza Pahlavi from Jerusalem, Israel. Dr. Eyal Hulata, a senior international researcher at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies and former national security advisor of Israel, is with us from Tel Aviv. Thank you for accepting our invitation. Mr. Hulata, the Israeli Prime Minister says that the work might be finished in a matter of days and weeks. Do you think it's optimistic, or is the Islamic Republic really on the verge of collapse?
First of all, I want to thank you for your invitation. This is the first time I'm being interviewed by Iran International. I follow your work closely, and I think it's a tremendous effort and a great service you're providing to the people of Iran. Initially, I want to say that yes, I think Iran has been weakened day by day, and the removal of Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei was a very significant development, which has also emboldened the people of Iran to rise up and take their freedom into their own hands. We are currently observing the significant attrition of security forces, a critical development that is unfolding with equal impact on the ground. Naturally, it remains incredibly difficult to predict with certainty whether this conflict will conclude in a matter of mere days or perhaps stretch into weeks. However, it is highly probable that the war will effectively be resolved within this short horizon. In the final analysis, the ultimate diplomatic decision will be determined in Washington rather than in Jerusalem. But my hope is that the extent of the damage that America and Israel are inflicting together, and perhaps other countries will join them in the coming days, that this damage will be sufficient in scale to spark this process we are looking for in Iran.
The Islamic Republic is paying a heavy price. Many of their launchers have been destroyed. It even seems that their ability to launch missiles and send drones has also significantly decreased in the last day or two. Perhaps from a military standpoint, the work, as you say, won't take very long, but the next phase is what many are terrified of. What do you think will happen on the ground after the end, the Islamic Republic's military capability?
Well, if you ask me, I honestly believe that the progressive weakening and attrition of Iran's military capabilities will prove critical in limiting the country's ability to project power throughout the region and enforce control over its own populace. The conflict is unlikely to end until the regime has fully exhausted its resources. They will continue to engage in hostilities until the very last arrow is spent. This aggression will persist as long as they retain the means to launch attacks, targeting not just Israel, but also the Gulf states, as you well know. It is significant that Iran has directed a far greater volume of projectiles, including missiles and drones, at the surrounding Gulf countries than at Israel. This disparity is incredibly telling, revealing the true breadth of their strategic ambitions and the severe threat they pose to their immediate neighbors. A significant number of these attacks are naturally aimed at civilian targets across Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Qatar, Oman, and the Emirates. This pattern is very telling about their overall strategy. Now, if we can achieve a continuous and incremental decrease in their operational ability to launch these missiles and drones, this will send an undeniable message to the people that the armed forces are significantly weakened. As a result, the citizens will then find the courage to act. My feeling is that the removal of the leader was a necessary initial step. The attrition of the armed forces will be another equally necessary step. Maybe now, as determined protesters take decisive action against the entrenched regime to force its eventual overthrow, this momentum represents the critical next step in the struggle. Consequently, the subsequent challenge becomes defining the face of this movement. Who will ultimately rise to become the undisputed leader of this revolution? Will it be the exiled crown prince, Reza Pahlavi, or will a new grassroots leader emerge directly from within Iran itself? That remains a profound question for which I naturally do not possess an answer. Yet the resolution of this leadership vacuum will be a decisively pivotal factor in dictating how this complex situation progresses.
You know, in the past hour, they also attacked Azerbaijan. Now the scope of the Islamic Republic's attacks has expanded from the Indian Ocean to the Caucasus, and from there to the Eastern Mediterranean. The Azerbaijanis, they said in a sharper tone that they will respond. The Emiratis, the Qataris, the rest of the Persian Gulf countries also said they reserve the right to respond for themselves, although they had more cautious language. How much do you think the likelihood of forming a regional international coalition against Iran will increase in the coming days?
Well, first, if that will happen,
Well, first of all, if this happens, it will be very bad news for the Islamic Republic and a big success for Washington and Jerusalem, especially for Washington if it can, solidify this coalition. We're now approaching the 35th anniversary of the First Persian Gulf War. There, too, we had a regional and international coalition against Saddam Hussein in Iraq. Back then, Israel was isolated and was excluded from that coalition. Now, just imagine what has happened in this region in the last 35 years, that not only is Israel not excluded from such a coalition, but it actually has a leading and pioneering role in this coalition with other Arab countries joining, even if it's just symbolically. This shows us, what kind of transformation has taken place in the Middle East. I don't know if, for example, President Aliyev will ask the Azerbaijani army to take revenge on the Islamic Republic. We know he's put them on high alert. The Saudis, the Emiratis, even the Qataris, they're getting ready for offensive capabilities. We're hearing news from Iraq, from Kurdistan, and from other places. I think we have to wait and see what happens, whether this really materializes as a noose that gets tighter and tighter around the Islamic Republic of Iran. We'll have to wait.
Yael Hulata, researcher at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies and former Israeli National Security Advisor. Thank you. The U.S. president announced an hour ago his support for Kurdish military operations in Iran. Donald Trump, meanwhile, emphasized that operations against the Islamic Republic are ahead of schedule. He also noted that although the United States has large ammunition supplies, the defense industry is increasing production. Shayan Sami, national security expert, joined us from our studio in Washington. And Mr. Sami, increasingly, questions about whether this war will lead to the fall of the Islamic Republic or not. Now the bigger question for many is how this fall will happen and what role different forces will play. There are so many developments and so many rumors. From everything we're hearing up to this moment, what do you think the upcoming scenario will look like?
I first wish to offer my deepest respects to you, dear Mr. Farahzad, and to the courageous and brave people of Iran. Look, what remains undeniably clear is that both the United States and Israel are standing firm until the very end. While they may not have explicitly utilized the specific phrase, stating that they are actively seeking regime change, the reality is quite different. All of their strategic maneuvers indicate that they are aggressively moving towards that very outcome. It is evident that their ultimate objective is the complete destruction and overthrow of the Islamic Republic government, a goal they intend to achieve as quickly and decisively as possible. And on the other hand, we also see that this ambiguity in Mr. Trump's conversations and statements is, causing confusion and anxiety for the Islamic Republic. But this could also be a bit problematic for those who are outside Iran as well. But we shouldn't forget that the United States is trying to, finish the job by eliminating the command and control section and eliminating the Islamic Republic's ability to retaliate. On the other side, Israel is continually moving things forward with really precise targeting. It is actually quite striking when you consider that whoever gets assigned to a position of responsibility knows that the very next day, they themselves might become a target. Furthermore, regarding the political situation, just because Mr. Trump announced today that we appreciate the support of the Kurds too, we shouldn't jump to conclusions. This statement definitely doesn't mean that the plan is to simply hand over the entire country of Iran to the Kurds and just leave it at that, No, they really seem to believe that if they can successfully create a bit of a strategic preoccupation for the Islamic Republic on one side, they might be able to, get into action significantly faster from the other side and essentially move in to finish the job that way once and for all.
How is that way, Mr. Sami? Anyway, the details of these things are, really extensive. Naturally, if the Kurdish forces really want to go towards Tehran, it's not just about the Islamic Republic. It has other complexities. Even now, we see there's really no consensus, although these groups themselves, at least until now, have denied such an action. But if we want to get there, well, what kind of approach can be imagined from the government side? And will they really be able to reach Tehran,
Look, when examining Mr. Trump's speeches, you have to consider one specific thing, which is that he's very, very interested in speaking in a notably complicated way. If he talks about supporting the Kurds, we shouldn't 100% accept his words as literal truth, you know? It's quite possible that they're actually trying to employ psychological tactics with this rhetoric, which in fact is designed to confuse adversaries like the Islamic Republic, you know? This is just from one side of the argument. And on the other side, you have to definitely know that, and our dear people should know that some coordinations might have been made behind the scenes that we're not aware of at the moment, you know? That's why I think we should look at Mr. Trump's words as a whole and not just, segment by segment and every single phrase that comes from him. We even saw today he talked about the selection of the next leader of Iran, whereas yesterday it was the same person who said, whoever is chosen, they will also be killed. If we want to consider the sum of all these, in fact, it's sending a message that says, this government and its entirety have been destroyed. Now, even if their personalities and characters want to change, it doesn't change things for us, you know?
Mr. Sami, let's put all these other groups aside for now. The name mentioned most during this time is Prince Reza Pahlavi. If he really wants to take power in the coming days, what will it look like? Could you reflect that image for me? What mechanism will it be? The talk is about people taking over institutions. How should they take them over? And specifically, which institutions? Some of these institutions are under bombardment. They don't have weapons. Many of these in those last minutes when it's hand-to-hand combat, how will power be transferred,
Look, a part of this work is being done by American forces and Israeli forces, who are, in fact, destroying the performance of the repressive forces to that extent, But they haven't, destroyed the people's ability to access weapons in those areas where these individuals were working, So when they say take over the institutions, it means in that desired situation that will be announced, people can go to those centers and take possession of the remaining weapons. And for the initial hours, defend the security of their own region and the security of their own city. This is from one side. And on the other side, we've also seen Prince Reza Pahlavi announce many times that at the right moment, I myself will be in Iran, Do not consider it even remotely unlikely that he is currently positioned exceptionally close to the border, essentially hovering right on the edge of Iranian soil. He is simply waiting for that critical tipping point, the specific instant when it becomes undeniable that the current government is effectively collapsing. At that precise moment, he will dramatically announce his presence. It is guaranteed to be a sudden, shocking revelation designed to catch everyone off guard. The strategic logic here is to ensure that a situation does not spiral into uncontrollable anarchy. You see, neither Mr. Trump nor Prime Minister Netanyahu has any interest in seeing the region descend into total disorder. From what I have been able to uncover regarding their strategies, they have established a substantial long-term contingency plan, specifically aiming to counter any potential chaos and ensure a managed transition of power.
Thank you, national security expert Shaheen Sami from our Washington studio.
You're welcome.
On the sixth day of the war, the focus of attacks has been more on the basis of special units, police stations, governorates, and centers for suppressing protests in various cities from Tabriz to Tehran and Isfahan. Let's watch some of these received images from today and tonight that have reached Iran International.
Oh my, oh my, oh my. Again, the air defense is just hitting over there. Forget the air defense. What's exploding over there that its light is reaching all the way here? Oh my god, I can't believe it is actually March 4th. Oh my god, I think the Deh Turkmen ammo depot was destroyed. Parchin or Deh Turkmen? This is Parchin. Parchin destroyed. Air defense behind. Oh my god, it lit up again. Again! Oh my god, it's morning! Oh my god. Oh god.
The 14th, 10 a.m. That plane. The intelligence and special unit hit a flying object. Lots of planes in the sky.
It hit so violently that the sky turned completely black, exactly like this. This is precisely what everyone means when they say he connected its head to its tail, you know? Just look here. This demonstrates exactly how it successfully connected its head all the way back around to its tail.
My colleague Ali Shirazi joins us from London. Ali, attacks have clearly intensified significantly in Tehran and across Iran.
That you're saying the attacks are intensely underway. Today, in particular, we witnessed two major changes in the attacks, especially in Tehran. That is, until yesterday, the attacks that were carried out were generally targeting military centers, barracks, missile or drone depots, and drones themselves. But what happened today, attacks began on the strategic assets of internal security forces that were stationed in civilian centers, which indicates the intelligence dominance of the US and Israel over the movements within the country as well. Today, Azadi Stadium, specifically its 12,000-seat hall, where government forces had gathered, was targeted. Furthermore, the list includes the Bahset Sports Complex, Azadegan Water Park, Esmaili Sports Complex, and Eskanderlu Sports Hall, plus the 5th Anti-Narcotics Police Station, the old Internal Security Police Base, Mashiria Police Station 169, the municipality's District 18 building, alongside several military barracks that
Well, unfortunately, it seems our connection with my colleague Ali Shirazi has been cut. If we can, we will go back to him later. Hours ago, Prince Reza Pahlavi said in a video message that the chosen leader of the collapsing Islamic Republic regime, whether it be Mojtaba Khamenei or Hassan Rouhani, has no legitimacy, and according to him, the only alternative to the Islamic Republic is a transitional system.
My dear compatriots, as I firmly emphasized in my statement following Khamenei's demise, any succession planning for him is utterly doomed to fail. Any name put forward, be it Mojtaba or Hassan, will inevitably lock all legitimacy. These figures remain complicit in the bloody, oppressive record of this regime and share the guilt of its criminal leaders, Khamenei and Khamenei, ensuring the continuation of a legacy built on tyranny. The collapsing Islamic Republic regime has no legitimacy whatsoever. The only legitimate alternative to this regime is the transitional system, whose framework has been communicated to you through the emergency phase booklet of the Iran Prosperity Project, and its components will be gradually introduced. To all former and current agents of the Islamic Republic whose hands are not stained with the blood of the nation. You must honor the collective will of the nation, relinquish all power immediately and non-violently to ensure peace, publicly declare your allegiance to the Lion and Sun Revolution of the Iranian nation, and actively contribute to Iran's stable and secure transition toward a free, nationally elected government. I say to the international community, stand with the Iranian nation. We must officially declare the absolute illegitimacy of the Islamic Republic, while formally recognizing the transitional system as the sole representative of the nation's collective will. Be assured that victory is drawing near. The Iranian nation shall soon be free, and history will forever remember those who courageously stood by our people during these dark, difficult times. Long live a free Iran.
Abdul Reza Ahmadi, a political analyst and activist from Frankfurt, is with us. Mr. Ahmadi, it's clear that Prince Reza Pahlavi has very high acceptance and popularity, but taking power won't be without its complexities. What do you think needs to happen in the next phase?
Greetings to you and your respected viewers. In my view, what needed to happen has finally happened. On one side, we have the Islamic Republic, which, faces issues regarding political legitimacy in that particular sense. It doesn't have that collective credibility, nor is the international mechanism aligned with it. When you look at all the speeches today, from the German chancellor to those in America and even in the Middle East itself, they are questioning the international legitimacy of the Islamic Republic. On the other hand, you have a movement that as it happens, has at least grassroots and popular legitimacy, and its leader is Prince Reza Pahlavi. Now, this needs to enter the international legitimacy phase in the next step. This effectively means that various global institutions, unions, and national governments must urgently enter into constructive dialogue and open communication. We actually witnessed the beginnings of a crucial interaction taking place during the recent Munich conference. I am referring specifically to those unprecedented high-level meetings that occurred involving the head of the European Union's Foreign Affairs Commission, its Security Commission leader, and even a senior American senator. When observing these significant diplomatic engagements, it becomes increasingly clear that as a matter of fact, a cohesive international coalition is truly forming right before our eyes. Currently, we are observing a critical internal phase. I believe that in the very near future, once the administrative and coercive systems of the Islamic Republic completely fail, the movement will fully emerge. This will manifest both in the public street phase and at the intermediate level among the elites. It creates a space for those who can be characterized as a falling away force, disenchanted insiders, to coalesce and take shape, allowing us to enter a completely different political process. Of course, the more detailed and precise strategic information relies on what the prince himself addresses. We must wait for him to explicitly state which specific phase we are approaching and what concrete preparations are required to navigate this transition effectively.
I understand, but anyway, assuming he goes to Tehran, if there really isn't any military force on the ground, who should ensure his security until he reaches power? How can we trust the forces on the ground?
Look, what remains absolutely certain here, specifically according to, well, his own public statements, I am telling you, is simply undeniable. We clearly have a complex situation involving both the loyal, immortal Guard and significant military forces that have effectively defected. This chaotic reality is something the commanders of the Islamic Republic themselves admit repeatedly. While some active dissenters have been arrested, others probably still exist quietly within the system itself. Ultimately, I strongly believe that in effectively controlling the inevitable power vacuum in Iran, broad international cooperation must naturally emerge. Once that critical safe line is established, stretching from the UN body to other governments, we can proceed. Under those circumstances, I really do not believe it seems like such a perilous task anymore, even though it certainly requires a great deal of courage and daring to undertake. However, the prince has proven repeatedly throughout these past 46 years that he possesses both the necessary courage and the daring spirit. Moreover, I am confident that the Iran-oriented forces have sufficient bravery to step up and help during that pivotal zero moment you are referring to, specifically by establishing a protective security circle around him so that we can ultimately succeed.
Start the transitional period after the Islamic Republic. Thank you, Abdul Reza Ahmadi, political analyst and activist. The president of Azerbaijan has called the attack by suicide drones on Nakhchivan airport and a nearby school a terrorist act. Ilham Aliyev said that the dishonorable individuals, as he put it, who carried out this act will regret it. He has asked Iranian authorities to explain and apologize to the Republic of Azerbaijan. The Islamic Republic has also stated that this attack was not carried out by Iran.
No head of state, except for me, has ever visited any Iranian embassy. Not appreciating this matter, ignoring it, and showing such vile and contemptible ingratitude brings no honor to anyone. These dishonorable individuals who carried out this terrorist act against us will regret their actions.
Hussein Alizadeh, international affairs analyst from London, has joined us. Mr. Alizadeh, anyone who has heard the sound of a Shahid 136 even once won't have much difficulty identifying what crashed in Nakhchivan. At the same time, Mr. Aliyev himself had pointed out that he was the only world leader who, incidentally, went to the embassy of the Islamic Republic and signed there in the guest book of the Islamic Republic's embassy in Baku, next to photos of Ali Khamenei. How do you see the Islamic Republic now opening another front in the Caucasus, and with a country that seems to have even more hostility towards Tehran and is also supported by Ankara?
This answer was given by Mr. Hakan Fidan, the Turkish foreign minister, just in the past few days. He said that the Islamic Republic believes that if it leaves, it will take the region with it. If you view the situation from this perspective, you will see that even Turkey itself experienced a troubling incident. While it is true that this event, did not cause substantial damage, the reality remains that such an action did indeed occur. Consider Oman as well. You simply won't find a country closer or more detached from the conflict, yet they were involved. Mr. Arachachi didn't deny it. Rather, he clarified that because units were granted fire-at-will authority to make independent decisions, they unfortunately made errors and mistakenly struck targets within Oman too. Essentially, he tried to frame the issue as just a mistake, but the operation was still carried out. Regardless of his spin, the personnel, the equipment, and the weaponry were undeniably Iranian. With that in mind, consider the sheer number of neighboring regions affected, ranging from all 6 Arab countries of the Persian Gulf to Turkey, Azerbaijan, and vast parts of Iraq. These developments are truly astonishing. The Islamic Republic is currently acting like a total madman on the world stage. So you surely remember how different things were back in the day, right? There was this one guy who always acted incredibly tough, constantly posturing like he was looking for a real challenge. But then he would suddenly turn around and do something shocking. He would lash out and stab anyone, even harming himself, creating a dramatic, bloody scene just to garner some pity. Anyway, in a confusing situation where there is also a distinct lack of effective leadership, these kinds of chaotic incidents are seen happening more and more frequently every single day. Consequently, just today, I saw that Mr. Arachi completely denied the allegations. During a call he made to Naksha Javan, he firmly insisted, no, we didn't do this action, seemingly trying to distance himself from the entire mess. Well, you yourselves confirmed you did the Oman one, so this could be that too. But let's just assume that the Naksha Javan action wasn't carried out by the Islamic Republic of Iran either. It becomes the story of someone who was a thief in the neighborhood, and then whenever there was a theft, they'd come looking for him, and he'd say, man, I don't know why in this neighborhood, whenever there's a theft, everyone comes after me. This person didn't realize that the label was thief. Almost instinctively, accusing fingers point toward you. You must possess the diplomatic skill to ensure these accusations do not cling, preventing such a damaging tag from defining your identity. However, this stigma has firmly attached itself to the Islamic Republic. Even if the regime is technically innocent of a specific action today, the label remains indelible, leaving them trapped with no escape from global perception. Through this erratic behavior, the figure, often characterized as a madman, operates under a destructive logic, implying that if he must depart, he will ensure the entire region burns along with him. If they had demonstrated even a shred of rationality, perhaps they could have acted differently, but that moment passes. Regarding their eventual departure, I have explained that to truly grasp the current reality of the Islamic Republic, one must look at Ali Khamenei himself. What does this comparison mean? It means that for all intents and purposes, he is effectively dead, yet not yet buried. The Islamic Republic exists in this exact same state of limbo, lifeless but unburied, and we know that when a corpse remains above ground, it naturally begins to rot. It festers, breeds worms, and spreads toxicity. This entire dire situation, the chaos and corruption we see, is nothing more than the overwhelming stench of the decomposing Islamic Republic. Consequently, we must sincerely hope that the country's volatile situation can be immediately resolved through the implementation of truly effective leadership. I simply do not believe Mr. Trump is fully calculating the reality that right now there is already a capable leader actively issuing calls. This individual has a recognized name, maintains official status, possesses a substantial background, and is already close to you. Remember that Mr. Graham personally sits and converses with him, evidenced by that massive rally in Munich where hundreds of thousands of people gathered and he participated. Given these undeniable facts and such visible support, why is there any need to delay action anymore? And therefore, this stage of burying the Islamic Republic and the rise of a new system really must happen. Remember, Mr. Farahzad, at the beginning of the year 1000 and back in the very first days of 1404, I shared a specific prediction. To me, this remains purely an instinctive feeling, nothing more than a deep intuition. I stated that Iran's destiny in 1404 mirrors the events of 1304 perfectly, just as the Qajar dynasty departed and the modern Pahlavi era began in 1304. We sincerely hope to witness history repeat itself.
How plausible is this scenario really? You saw the news, right? Venezuela's interim president actually met with Mr. Trump's envoy, thanked him, and openly discussed a roadmap for democratic transition. Drawing on that, how likely is it that the Islamic Republic could similarly find a solution at the 11th hour? Could they identify a moderate, technocratic figure from within the system, not to preserve the regime, but to facilitate a smoother transition and prevent the situation from spiraling into a violent, direct confrontation?
This is a really good question, and it is certainly one that is on many people's minds right now. Now they're saying it is Mojtaba Khamenei, no, actually Hassan Rouhani, or what do I know, even Pezeshkian. All sorts of different names keep coming up. I want to say that as it happens, assuming such a significant event actually occurs, I will now use the specific term mohalel to describe it. That specific term really doesn't have a good connotation attached to it. But like, consider the role of a facilitator. Exactly. You see, the government of Mohammad Reza Pahlavi is currently leaving so that the absolutely disgraceful Islamic Republic can be fully established. We have a distinct 37-year period involved. Who is it really? It comes from within itself. I mean, anyway, look at Mr. Batiar, for example. It is coming from within the country's own system anyway, but honestly, I really don't know.
You meant 37 days, of course.
What did I say?
37 years.
Yes, 37 days.
That story became 47 years later, but Batiar himself was just 37 days.
To clarify, I was referring to Bakhtiar's short 37-day rule. I apologize for the slip. My main point is that the current environment is actually creating the necessary conditions for a political transition. It acts as a facilitator for transferring power, which isn't a bad method if we are speculating. Consider figures like Hassan Khomeini and Pezeshkian. Can they truly maintain the current system, keeping the structure of the Islamic Republic, its constitution, and the deep-seated enmity with America exactly as it is? No, it is absolutely impossible. However, they could serve a crucial role by personally ushering in this inevitable transition period themselves. It's not a very bad model either. It's reasonable, it's conceivable. It's happened in many places around the world too. Let me say this last sentence too. My final point circles back to the fact that you mentioned Venezuela. Look, the reality is that America, for strategic reasons, especially to put China in its place, essentially declared, I must shut down China's two major oil supply sources. Those two targets are Venezuela and Iran. The US took action against Venezuela on January 1st. And regarding the Islamic Republic, well, it made that move just at the end of February. But I want you to really look closely at a striking difference in the deal. Mr. Trump spoke with Maduro twice. They created a scenario where we come and take over, and it was half an hour's work, totally half an hour, and 37 people were killed too, and they were Cuban. This Islamic Republic has fallen like a nightmare on this country, saying, I won't leave, and what's more, I won't leave. I'll take everyone else with me too. Look what a difference there is if a compassionate person in this very...
Concerning that specific sentiment, I'll take everyone else down with me, Mr. Alizadeh. I have been researching tirelessly. I am currently scouring history to see if any other nation has ever blindly attacked its neighbors like this, acting without any reason or acceptable legitimate justification. I simply cannot find a single parallel exampled anywhere. Did you not find this unprecedented aggression to be completely surprising and baffling as well? I know the Islamic Republic threatened the region, but it has now set fire to a vast area from the Indian Ocean to the Caucasus, the Eastern Mediterranean, half of the Middle East, and beyond, extending all the way to Europe.
You heard that story where two people were fighting over a newborn baby, and the ruler came and said, I'll cut it in half and give it. Half is yours, half. The real mother said, no, I don't want the child to be cut. That's when the ruler understood this was the real mother. In this system, no one is the real mother of this country. Even if this child is cut in half, it doesn't matter to them. It's not for them if this child is gone from me. They want it to be in their possession, even if they've cut it in half. What do we understand here? Here we understand how broad-minded Mohammad Reza Shah was. Now, if you don't want, I'll go, as Mr. Ziba Kalam wrote in his book, that Mohammad Reza Shah didn't commit massacres. This is the first point. Not only did they commit massacres and then some, but they also, just completely took over, like a nightmare, nothing. You asked, it's not a cause for my surprise. No, it's not a cause for surprise. Look, maybe it was 10, 15 years ago. One of the senior commanders, I think this very Mr. Vahidi, who is now in a senior position, he himself had said that If we are forced to leave, we will hand over a scorched Iran to you. Search for this sentence. It reveals everything. Consider a builder who loses a home they constructed with their own hard work. Even if usurped, the true creator would say, I believe, but I will not burn this house, because they cherish what they made. Conversely, if one is willing to set the house ablaze, it proves they do not truly belong to it. This betrayal illustrates why it is fundamentally incorrect to refer to the regime as the Islamic Republic of Iran, as those who genuinely belong to a nation would never seek its total destruction.
Iran doesn't belong to it, and a clear reason is that its leader is also the leader of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps of the Islamic Republic, and its leader wasn't supposed to be Iranian, and even now, its leader isn't supposed to be Iranian. What kind of system is this that can be Iranian? Well, because they don't belong, they're burning Iran, but finally, the Islamic Republic is over. Don't forget, 1404 will be the same old story as 1304. Iran underwent a serious transformation.
Thank you, Hossein Alizadeh, international affairs analyst from London. In the U.S. Congress, Democrats' efforts to reduce the U.S. president's authority on the issue of war with Iran are ongoing. Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal told reporters that a continuation of this conflict could also draw the U.S. towards deploying ground troops. He says regime change is not possible with airstrikes alone and will ultimately require the presence of American forces on the ground.
Republicans are on record today, and they're going to...
Republicans have stated their position, and they should be held accountable for it. Elections always have consequences. My concern is that the expansion of this war will bring us to the brink of sending American troops to the battlefield. If this situation continues, the lives of American sons and daughters will be at risk. The president is now openly talking about regime change, but this goal won't be achieved with just airstrikes. Ultimately, American troops will be needed on the ground. I'm a father whose 2 sons served in the military. One as a Marine in Afghanistan, and the other in Navy Special Forces. I know what those nights of worrying about your children in war feel like. When the American people see their children are in danger, there will be a public demand to end this war. That's why the War Powers Act is important. The American people should have a say in this decision, not have the country's fate tied to Donald Trump's snap decisions.
We are joined now by reporter Marzia Hosseini, reporting live from the U.S. Congress. Marzia, despite the fact that Democrats had struggled to secure the votes for a resolution designed to block the president from initiating military action, it seems clear that their broader push to constrain the executive branch's power remains very active today.
That's right, Fardad. I just heard some very urgent news here in Congress that, in my opinion, is related to the situation with Iran. Apparently, Mr. Trump has just fired Ms. Christine and is going to appoint Senator Mullen in her place. Mr. Mullen is someone who interviews with me almost every day here. He's very much against the Islamic Republic, and this means that one of the Islamic Republic's very staunch opponents will be in Trump's very close circle. And actually, I think this won't be without impact on the policies of the next few days either. But let me get back to here in the U.S. Congress. Today is the second day that Iran-related voting is taking place, meaning in 2 days, 3 Iran-related resolutions, meaning that the entire focus of the U.S. Congress is currently centered on this war. 1 resolution was yesterday, which was rejected. It was in the U.S. Senate, and 2 resolutions are scheduled to be voted on today, in about 2 hours. 1 resolution is that same War Powers resolution, which has a low chance of passing. But another resolution that will probably pass is one that identifies Iran as the world's biggest state sponsor of terrorism. And this resolution is also scheduled to be voted on today, simultaneously. Probably the reason these votes were supposed to happen this morning and they postponed them, probably the reason was also that they wanted to bring more resolutions to the table so they could vote on them. Regarding the first one, we know the majority is with the Republicans. Mr. Mike Johnson actually tried to prevent this resolution from even entering the House, that he's assured the Republicans that it's not going to pass. But the second resolution probably will pass. In this resolution, I read a part of it. It states that the Islamic Republic and groups supported by the Islamic Republic in Iraq caused the killing of 600 American soldiers. And it's a very lengthy text that actually indicates that U.S. lawmakers are trying to Even if Democrats who aren't voting for the first Republican resolution are witness action, softening the ground so that they vote for the second resolution, so that the atmosphere isn't such that the American press wants to use it against the Republicans. Mr. Brian Mast himself introduced this very resolution, but now we're here reporting, and in the coming hours I'm going to give a live report on the process of this resolution's approval from here. But yesterday's resolution, which was rejected, also had 47 votes in favor and 53 votes against. I mean, except for Mr. Rand Paul, the Republican senator, no other Republican senator was willing to vote for it. But we also had another side issue here in our Congress regarding Iran. Yesterday, an anti-war individual, an anti-war person present in Iran, entered a chamber and started shouting loudly, and one of the American senators, personally with the American police, threw them out of the room. The issue was about Iran. The session focused on Iran, involving issues drawing both American lawmakers and ordinary people to the U.S. Congress. For the past few days, the main topic of discussion here has been the looming issue of war in Iran.
Thanks to you. Thank you, Marzia Hosseini, our U.S. Congress correspondent. On International Women's Day, the National Solidarity Organization for Iranians says it intends to raise the voice of Iranian women in the heart of the U.S. Capitol. This gathering will be held on Saturday, March 7th at 1 p.m. at the Washington Monument near the White House. The organizers have invited all Iranians and non-Iranians to participate in this event and show their support for women's rights and civil liberties in Iran. Iranian activists, including Rana Mansour, a singer and musician, as well as Mercedes Shahinkar, one of the visually impaired victims, are also present at this gathering. Siamak Aram, an analyst and lecturer at Heidelberg University, joined us from our studio in Washington. Mr. Aram, you are organizing and arranging this gathering. Please tell us more about your plans.
Much like that previous revolutionary movement, which really took off in Iran after the tragic murder of Mahsa Jina Amini, this time is similar. Right from the start of the protests in the Tehran Bazaar and various other cities, every Saturday we have coordinated specific programs in this vital political area. It is actually still ongoing, even now. So on Saturdays, we meet at a certain spot chosen for a specific reason and topic, carefully considering the current conditions, since, the situation on the ground and political events can shift at absolutely any moment. The powerful images you are displaying were captured just last week, the busy corridor of George Washington Street. It was a massive gathering where over 15,000 individuals, including both Iranians and international supporters, came together to participate. That event occurred simultaneously with the breaking announcements regarding the end of Ali Khamenei's life, the former leader of the Islamic Republic. Today offers a similar significance as it coincides with International Women's Day. Here, we will raise our collective voice for the freedom of political prisoners and say no to executions. Although a detailed list of specific cases has been prepared, time constraints prevent us from addressing every single one at this moment. But wherever they can, they'll get back to those too. And also the issue of territorial integrity. Especially these days, it's really important. Iran's soil, Iran's land, preserving it. These are among the issues at this gathering, which is right on the south side of the White House, because the north side of the White House is currently closed and has been for a long time due to repairs and construction that's happening. And it will be closed for months too. That's why in the areas we have access to around the building, this large march will be held. And at exactly 1 p.m., Iranians and non-Iranians are supposed to gather on the south side of the White House.
I know your pretext is International Women's Day, but, well, the situation in the region is heavily affected by the current war with the Islamic Republic. How much of a shadow will that cast over your ceremony?
We too, like all your viewers, are constantly checking the news. We monitor the conditions and react based on them. For instance, last week it was planned that in that crowded area, in the dark hours, with light and candles, it would be a memorial for our beloved fallen and those whose names live on. But as soon as the news, it changed because that morning, actually, the site had been attacked. But, there were speculations that probably some news would come out. As soon as that happened, we changed the show's theme, and probably, as you've also mentioned in your reports, the situation completely changed. This Saturday, too, it's possible that by then other news might come out, and we'll adjust our theme and how we do things based on that.
Thank you so much, Siamek Adam, political analyst and lecturer at Heidelberg University, joining us from our studio in Washington. And thank you for watching Iran International. Our special coverage in the coming minutes and hours regarding the war between the United States and Israel with the Islamic Republic is continuing. Just in the past few minutes, we got news that the U.S. Embassy's operations in Kuwait have also been suspended. This is in addition to other U.S. diplomatic institutions in the Middle East region that have suspended their operations. You can catch this show again a bit later on YouTube. Until the next program, goodbye.